Hello there! Welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews. My name is Alyssa, and this is my review for Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5, or Episode 5, or you want to call it Season 1, Episode 5? There's a rumor that there's going to be a Season 2, even though it was originally slated to be a limited series. But anyways, you know which episode I'm talking about. You know, the one with Reva and Darth Vader fighting each other at the end. Spoilers, by the way. But I do think that should go without saying these days. If you're clicking on a YouTube video that's a review for an episode, you should know there's going to be spoilers. But I'm obligated to give you the spoiler warning nonetheless. So let's go ahead and start with my overview, my overall thoughts of the episode, and I freaking loved it. I thought this was a great episode. I think it is easily my favorite of the season thus far. I do love that we finally got some of that backstory for Reva. We really needed it. They were really setting her up as an important character. They kind of hinted at some things. They had that scene at the beginning of the season with the younglings. There was a lot of speculation that she was one of them, and that turns out to be the case. So we really absolutely needed this. And plus, it gave a lot of people bragging rights, because I know there's a lot of YouTubers and other people who predicted that she would, in fact, be going after Darth Vader to get revenge on him, rather than just going after Obi-Wan. So a lot of people get to pat themselves on the back for that one. I myself didn't specifically spout that theory, but I did talk with my buddy Darren about it. Darren on D's Reviews. I was on his channel a couple weeks ago doing a discussion about, I believe it was episode 3 at the time, and he brought up that theory that Reva is not simply going after Obi-Wan, but she actually wants revenge on Darth Vader. And what I said was, I could go either way on it. Like, I'm not sure which way they're going to go, but I felt that it would be more interesting if she was trying to get revenge on Vader, and not just she has this, vendetta against the Jedi and Obi-Wan and is working for Vader. I thought that would have been less interesting. So I was kind of rooting for them to go in this direction, and they did, and they pulled it off really well. I thought the interchanges between her and Obi-Wan were really good, and I thought they did a fantastic job with this storyline. And then, of course, the great scene at the end where Darth Vader and Reva fight it out, even though, it wasn't a particularly close battle. I mean, Darth Vader pretty much dominated her, but that didn't make it any less exciting. That didn't make it any less intriguing, and that didn't make it any less enjoyable. I really, really highly enjoyed the ending of this episode. Once again, Ewan McGregor also knocking out of the park. We are getting more character development for Obi-Wan. We're starting to see him inch closer and closer to the Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan, where he has his confidence back, where he has his abilities to use the Force once again. He's more connected to the Force. We knew that's the journey that he was taking, and I think that they have portrayed this very well. They have parsed it out throughout the episodes very well. And, of course, Obi-Wan being played by Ewan McGregor, who is absolutely amazing. Now, Princess Leia does take a step back in this episode, doesn't have as big of a role, but I'm totally okay with that. As much as I have been enjoying the interplay between Ewan McGregor and this amazing child actor playing Princess Leia, and the exchanges between those characters, I do recognize that the show is not called Princess Leia. It's called Obi-Wan. It almost seemed like Princess Leia may have been taking too much of the spotlight. So I am totally okay with her taking a step back in order to focus on not only Obi-Wan and his character development, but Reva as well, because we absolutely did need that, as I've mentioned earlier. Okay, so that's my overall thoughts. Absolutely love the episode. Favorite episode of the season. Now let me get into some of the details. So let me start by talking about the opening and the flashbacks that we see that we will see sprinkled throughout this episode. Now, I always thought that we need to get some flashbacks if we're going to make a big deal about Hayden Christensen being in the show. You can't just have him being the bald Darth Vader in the Banta tank and that's it. Like, you gotta have flashbacks. So I was really glad that they did this. Now, they weren't really in depth flashbacks, they were just used as a framing device, but I thought it worked really, really well for reasons that I will explain in just a second. But first, I do have to mention the gorilla in the room, which is they chose not to use de-aging technology on Hayden Christensen. They just have a 40-something-year-old Hayden Christensen playing the 20-something Anakin. This looks to be, judging by their hairstyles, around the time of Attack of the Clones. And you know what? That's fine. Like, I don't think you always have to spend all your money on the de-aging technology. It's been kind of hit or miss so far. It looked a little weird in The Mandalorian with Luke Skywalker. It looked a lot better in the Book of Boba Fett. But I don't always think you need to do that. I think sometimes you can ask the audience to suspend a little bit of disbelief. Go, oh, look, there's this dude in his 40s, but just pretend it's Anakin in his 20s. And I am totally okay to go along with that. And I have been very vocally anti-Hayden Christensen as an actor in the past. I'm sure he's a lovely human being. I just think he really sucked in episodes 2 and 3 and brought those films down. And it was enjoyable for me to watch the Clone Wars animated shows because Anakin is voiced by a good actor. So it worked a lot better for me. However, in these few scenes here, I think he does a perfectly fine job. I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of lines, just a few lines here and there as they're doing their lightsaber battles. So no problem with Hayden Christensen in these scenes. And what these scenes really did for me was to connect the dots between the Anakin that we saw in the prequels and Darth Vader, because in my brain there's always been kind of a disconnect between those two. Like, I knew that they were the same person, but it was hard for me to go watch the original trilogy or anything else really in which Darth Vader appears. He makes an appearance in Star Wars Rebels and things like that, or in Rogue One and that sort of thing. And it's been hard for me to really connect the dots that person is the same as the person in episodes 2 and 3. Never mind episode 1. But it was really hard for me to connect those dots. I was like, okay, if you say so, I guess that's the same person. But I absolutely love how Obi-Wan is able to predict Darth Vader's behavior based on what he knows about Anakin. And they demonstrate this by showing these flashbacks interspersed throughout the episode. For example, Obi-Wan saying, well, Darth Vader will he'll just attack. He's not going to have the patience for a siege. And then he flashback to that lightsaber battle where Anakin doesn't have patience. So I love that. I really, for the first time ever, I think, made the dots connect in my brain. Like, oh, okay, so that I can now see that Anakin is Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan is able to predict his behavior based off of what he knows of Anakin. And I love the part toward the end of the episode where he's like, Anakin, your need to always be the victor will be your undoing. Yeah, certainly the case in this episode. So I loved it. I loved all of that. Not super in-depth flashbacks, but they served their purpose beautifully. All right. I'll go through the character stories, and I think I'll start with Obi-Wan and save Reva for last. Reva was very interesting, but let me start with Obi-Wan. As I mentioned at the top, we are seeing some good character development here. So we're starting to see Obi-Wan becoming more confident with the Force, getting his groove back. And I'm trying to pinpoint really the reasons behind this. What is causing him to gain this confidence back and start to be more competent with the Force once again? And I'm going to have to say that it is caring, that he has something to care about, a cause to fight for. And I know, like, yes, he cared about Luke, but it seemed that all seems so hopeless. You know how Owen would just never let him anywhere near Luke, and he knew he wasn't going to get to train Luke because Owen said no, get the hell away, and it just seemed so dismal and hopeless. And he was just in this really hopeless situation. Whereas now he's starting to see that there is this, kind of seedlings of a rebellion happening. There's the path that is happening. There's people out there doing good things who care about other people, and is inspiring him to care about others once again as well, and realize that there is hope out there. And I think Princess Leia is a part of that too. I think he's gaining hope and inspiration from this young lady. So I think that is what has been causing this renaissance for Obi-Wan. And I think it is very well written, very well portrayed. And as I said before, our Ewan McGregor, of course, is crushing it. But it is it is interesting. Not only is he becoming more adept at the Force, but he's using his brain a little bit. It was an interesting ploy to get Reva to turn against Vader. I've heard some say that he kind of almost like throws her to the wolves, like doesn't really care what happens to her. But I don't think that's true. Like I think he did generally want Reva to be successful, and like I don't know if he knew like how much of an underdog she was, but no, I don't know that that's necessarily true. But I do think it was a brilliant ploy, which Darth Vader says at the end, he was wise to turn you against me. And that's absolutely true. So I loved everyone's thought process and his planning in this episode. So before I go into Reva, I do want to mention R.I.P. Tala. It's funny because I keep getting her confused with this character from Star Trek Picard Season 2 that I recently watched, whose name was Talon, and this character's name is Tala. And so the names are similar, and the roles that they play are similar, as this outside person, female person coming in to help our main characters accomplish their mission. I don't know. I just find a lot of similarities between the two characters, except this one was way, way better. If you didn't see my reviews for Star Trek Picard Season 2, let me tell you, I hated it. I think I gave it a 1 out of 10 for the season, and that particular character was very poorly written, very poorly done. And this is kind of that kind of character, this outside help character coming in to help our main characters, who is well written, well acted, and well portrayed. And I do like her sacrifice at the end, or toward the end, for her. I've heard comparisons of Rogue One and the what was that, K2SO, the robot droid, I should say, sacrificing himself. And yeah, I see those comparisons, but I think it works well here, and I think sacrifice makes sense. They show her looking at her wound right before she makes that decision that she knows she ain't gonna make it. Like there's no medics nearby. She's not making it out of there, anyways. So she chooses to go ahead and help everyone else by killing off all these stormtroopers and destroying them. So I really liked this scene, and I thought it was earned. I did really like this character. I thought this character, for as little as she appeared, was pretty well developed, and I did care about this character. So good job there. Okay, so let's get into the Reva of it all. So, this is a character whose backstory had been left a mystery up to this point, and it definitely needed to be paid off. And they did so very well in this episode. And there had been a lot of speculation. A lot of that ended up being correct. She was indeed one of those younglings that we saw in the beginning of the first episode, and I absolutely love the flashback scenes of Anakin coming in with the hood during Order 66, and we got glimpses of it in Revenge of the Sith, but there was more that happened off screen, and we get a little bit more here, and I really appreciated Reva's very vivid description of what happened and her feelings and having to hide amongst the dead bodies and pretending to be dead and smelling and feeling the coldness of the dead bodies. That's so eerie, and this description was really effective to portray how this character was feeling and why she developed into the person that she did and why she has this hatred for Anakin. And by the way, I love how we first get this backstory with Obi-Wan deducing that this must be the case because how would you know that Anakin was Darth Vader? And I think that's funny that Ewan McGregor or Obi-Wan was speaking for a lot of the fan base, where a lot of us were saying, how does she know that Anakin is Darth Vader? That's not like widely known, I don't think. That it seems like Darth Vader wouldn't go around telling people who he used to be. So the fact that she knew that, raised a red flag for Obi-Wan. Was like, I bet you were a youngling. And I think that's the same thought process as a lot of us fans had. So I thought that was really cool. And as mentioned earlier, I did like the exchanges between the two characters. And Obi-Wan definitely does manipulate her to a degree, but I don't know that he was just leaving her for dead necessarily. Maybe he was. It just seems like that's not something he would do. I think he was generally trying to get her to stand up for herself rather than causing more deaths of more children. I think he was really trying to protect the children. Somebody think of the children. So I think his motivations were solid there. And so we do get that reveal that she does hate Anakin. She does hate Darth Vader, and that's her ultimate goal. You know what sealed the deal for me in this episode, where I was like, oh yeah, I think that theory is correct. I think she is after Darth Vader. I thought that when she first met with Darth Vader, she was pouring it on a little thick. She's going, oh, Lord Vader, it's such an honor to be in your presence. And he's like, I don't care about the civilities. Let's get to the point, which is a very Vader thing to say. But when she did that, I was like, she seems to be really licking his boots, really kissing his butt, like overly doing it. I bet she really is trying to kill him, just as theories go. So that's the first thing that kind of tipped me off to it. Now, as for their fight at the end, I thought it was really cool because Darth Vader was just dominating her. Like, he didn't even have a lightsaber in the beginning. He was just like using the Force against her and not letting her spin the lightsaber really fast, not letting her, hit him with the lightsaber. He was just like, I don't think we've seen that before, where one opponent is, wielding a lightsaber and the other one is just simply using the Force. And we really see how powerful Darth Vader is in this episode. I'll talk about this thing with the ship in just a second because I do want to touch on that. But just staying focused on the fight between these two characters, we just really see how powerful Darth Vader is, and it completely dominates her. And as I said before, I don't think that that takes away from the excitement of this showdown. And so, but she does end up surviving. Now, I heard from another video that I watched that it was originally planned to kill Reva off here. So Darth Vader would have killed her, but they at some point changed it, and I think maybe even reshot some scenes, and I'm not sure when that occurred. But they decided to change it to where she survives with the hopes of potentially giving her her own series. I don't know. Um, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about a potential Reva series. It would just depend on what they do with her. But if it was as well written and well directed as this series, I would be all for it. But we do have one episode of Obi-Wan left with her. She does discover that Luke is on Tatooine, I believe, or something's going on Tatooine. I don't know if she got the full picture because the message from Bail Organa was kind of garbled, but she's probably gonna go to Tatooine, and I'm gonna guess have some kind of realization that okay, Obi-Wan's not a bad guy. He's protecting children, and this is why he didn't come to my rescue, because he was protecting this person who's pretty important. Something like that. I don't know. Obviously, she's not going to kill Luke. I mean, we know that, or the other movies wouldn't happen. So that would be my best guess. Something along those lines. Then setting her up for her own show, potentially, if they should go in that direction. So I did want to touch on Darth Vader with the ship because, well, for one thing, it does really, again, demonstrate just how powerful he really is. But also, this is, I think it might be the one thing in this episode that maybe was a little bit of a misstep or that confused me a little bit. I didn't understand the two ship thing. Like, what was this first ship that he destroyed? Who was on it? Was it just like an automatic pilot ship? And how did he not see the second ship behind it? Like, that was slightly confusing to me. So I think that would be the one thing in this episode that was just a little bit off for me. But other than that, like, wow, I absolutely loved this episode. Now, with all of that said, let me go ahead and wrap things up and give you my rating out of 10. Okay, so my rating out of 10, with 1 being the lowest possible score, 10 being the highest possible score. My rating out of 10 for Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5, a 9. I'm going to give it a 9. Thought about a 10. I don't know. 10s to me, I have to just be really, really confident. Like, this is one of the best things I've ever seen ever, and I have to be really feeling it. So I would say that if the finale is as good as this and it closes the show off really well, potentially the finale could get a 10 from me. But for now, I'm going to call it a 9. And I don't remember, I may have given some of the previous episodes a 9 as well, but I would call this a stronger 9. So I would definitely call this a better episode than those other ones. An extremely effective episode. And it earns a 9 out of 10 for me. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Please join me next week as I do cover the finale of Obi-Wan Season 1, or the only season, I don't know. And join me also every week for my Strange New Worlds coverage, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds for the uninitiated. And please subscribe, like, comment, do all those wonderful things. I hope to see you real soon, and happy Pride, everybody. Goodbye.